Hello friends! I have a really fun slider card to share with you today. This one features the Flying By stamp set. This is in our annual catalog. Lots of cute little flying images. You have a plane, a paper airplane, a little alien spaceship, another paper airplane over here, and a helicopter. And lots of these really cute greetings. Now we're not using the greetings in here. I'm actually pulling in a greeting from this stamp set, the Saying Hey stamp set, and this is also in our annual catalog as well. But let me show you how fun this card is. So you can see our little alien guy down there, and we're going to add lots of fun details to him. But watch what happens when you pull this up. Isn't that fun? It's an interactive card that anybody is going to love, especially maybe kids or teenagers. Even my husband liked this one, and he doesn't even like aliens, but he thought this one was pretty cute. So really fun little interactive card. So I'm going to show you how to make this. It's actually a lot easier than it looks. There's a few little steps and techniques that we're going to do on this, but it's all going to be worth it in the end. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to do a little bit of trimming for the front of our card before we start any of the other pieces. So I have a piece of 5 1/4 by 4, and all of the measurements will be in the video description, as well as on my blog with some pictures. You can check it out there. I'm going to be using my paper cutter to do some trimming. We're going to cut out like a big rectangle in the center of this for our little window for our slider piece. Okay, so we're going to do that first. So we're going to take that piece of Boho Blue. I don't know if I mentioned that, and I'm actually going to utilize, I don't know if this is going to show up, but do you see on the little cutting bar here, there is a ruler back here. Some demonstrators I've seen, they either put a piece of washi tape along the back here, or you can even put a piece of tear and tape. Just don't peel off the backing, and that will help your ruler show up a little bit better. Let me see if I stick this in. I don't have a problem seeing it. It's going to be a little bit harder for you to see it in the video, but I don't have a problem seeing it, so I'm not going to worry about that. But if you are having trouble seeing that ruler on the side here, go ahead and just stick a piece of washi tape just on the inside of the back of your ruler here, or a piece of tear and tape. That'll work too. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to use our measurements here, and we are going to start 3/4 inches from the top, and I'm going to put my paper in at 1.5 inches. Okay, now the light gray blade will score, so I'm going to push that all the way out of the way. And what we want is the dark gray blade. So I'm actually going to turn my paper trimmer just a little bit so I can see the 3/4 inch. So, and actually let me take my blade out just for a second so you can see where I'm looking on my blade. Do you see this little line right here? So these little lines on the side here, and you have one on the side here. Those actually correspond to where the point of your blade is. So when you're doing measurements and you're lining things up, just make sure you look at those little lines on your blades. Okay, so we're at 1.5 inches. And before I put my blade down, I'm going to mark it. I'm going to put it down at 3/4 inch. And then we're going to go 3/4 inch from the bottom. So I'm going to cut all the way from 3/4 inches to the bottom. Now this is 5 1/4, so 3/4 inch is 4.5. So I'm going to hold my paper in place and cut down to 4.5. All right, now we're going to lift it up, and what we've done is just cut a slit. So we're going to turn it over, and we're going to do the same thing on this side, 1.5 inches, and this time I'll start at 4.5, and I will cut up to, my light is giving me a glare, 3/4. There we go. Perfect. So now we have 2 slits, just like that. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to just put this in at the 3/4 inch mark, and I'm using this side of my ruler, the right side. When I'm doing measurements under an inch, that's typically where I like to go. And I am just going to connect these lines. So now I'm not even worrying about measurements. I'm just going to line up my line here with the lines that I've already cut here. Okay. So we've cut that out. We're gonna do the same over here, 3/4 inch. And we're just going to line up those little lines. And you can actually kind of feel them cutting. This one, I'm just gonna grab my scissors. I didn't go all the way to the corner on that one. That's okay, there we go. So we're just gonna take this piece out, and this is what we are left with. Move my paper trimmer. That's the piece we're left with, and that's going to be our little window for our slider. And because we did the measurements 1.5 from each side and 3/4 inch from the top and the bottom, it's going to be perfectly centered on our card, which is going to be perfect. All right, so let's do some ink blending. I'm actually going to start, we're going to ink blend 3 pieces. We're going to ink blend 2 pieces of Boho Blue, and we're going to ink blend some Daffodil Delight onto some basic white. So that's what we're going to start with, because the Daffodil Delight is a lighter color. So I'm going to set this aside. We're going to bring this back in just a second. I have a piece of basic white. Let me give you a measurement on here, 1.5 by 5. This is just going to go behind our little opening here. So it's a little bit bigger, just slightly bigger, and it's just going to go behind our opening. So what I'm looking to do here is make sure that it's nice and dark concentrated on the top and lighter as you go to the bottom. So I'm going to show you an easy way to do that. So I have my Daffodil Delight ink. I have my blending brush. And we're going to utilize our glass mat for this. I'm actually just going to put a smush of ink down onto my glass mat here. This is kind of my preferred way to do ink blending because you're not wasting a lot of ink. You're just kind of picking it up off your glass mat. And we're going to start from the top and just work our way down. And as we do that, it's just going to get lighter and lighter. Now you're going to have to do this a few times because we really want that concentrated color. You can also do this with reinkers. You can throw some reinkers onto the glass mat and just do that. You're going to get a much more concentrated, color that way, but you can absolutely do that too with some reinkers. All right. Now with ink blending, the more ink you add, you're going to get rid of some of those little splotchy spots. You see some of those, but we're just going to keep adding ink over that. And I'm just picking up the ink right off my glass mat and pulling it right onto my basic white paper. And I'm just going to keep blending it. When I get to the bottom down here, I'm not even re-inking it. I'm just kind of blending what's on my brush here. Just make sure the top is nice and saturated and concentrated with that yellow. All right, how does that look? Think that looks okay. If you need to add more ink, I'm going to add just a little bit more ink. I really want it to be just a little bit brighter. You can always add more ink, just kind of smush it down. My Daffodil Delight kind of needs to be re-inked, which is one of the reasons I'm not getting a lot of ink on here. So I'll have to take some time and re-ink that. So lots of deep saturation on the top. Ink blending does take a little bit of time, and you're gonna feel it in your arms, but it's so worth it. Now on the bottom here, I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just pressing real light. And that's going to give us that much deeper concentration at the top. Okay, I think that looks really good. Okay, so we're done with our Daffodil Delight. I'm going to clean up my glass mats. The glass mats are available for purchase in my online store. They're part of the online exclusives. So if you didn't get one during Celebration, when you joined, you can get one. It comes with this little cleaning cloth that will just clean everything up beautifully. Perfect, right? Oh, I just squeezed water everywhere. Hold on. This is only wet with water, nothing else. All right, I'm going to put that. I just keep mine stored in a little container. And all right, we're going to move our Daffodil Delight piece out of the way. I'm going to let this dry a second. It's a little bit wetter than I thought it was going to be because I squeezed it. So let's let that dry just a second before we bring in our cardstock. So we have this piece of cardstock, the piece that we cut the little slit out of. That's what we're going to do our ink blending on. And we're also going to do it on another piece of Boho Blue that is 5 by 1. We're only going to do a little bit on this, and this 5 by 1 piece is this tab right here, the tab that's going to pull in and out. So we want that to be the same color as the rest of our card. So let's pull out our ink. I'm using Blueberry Bushel this time. I wanted a really dark saturated ink for our Boho Blue. Let me see. Yep, nice and dry. We're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to press my ink right onto the corner of my mat. This one is much more juicy, so we won't have to work as hard with this one. And let's start with our little tab here. Now, I don't want to go all the way down. We're going to basically do the same thing that we did with the yellow piece, but I'm not going to go all the way to the bottom, but we're going to make sure that top stays a little bit more concentrated than the bottom. So I'm going to start at the top and just go maybe about 3/4 of the way down. We're going to make sure that top is nice and concentrated. And because we're doing blue on blue, it's going to be a little bit harder to see kind of what you're doing until you bring in a different color. So you see it, like when you look at it like this, you're like, well, I didn't really do much. But then when you pull it out onto another color of cardstock, or even the same color of cardstock like here, you can see, wow, well, that is a pretty significant difference. So just, I think a little bit more, maybe along the top, but not too much more. I'll just kind of blend it out to the bottom. All right, I think that's good for our little pull piece. Now we're going to do the same thing for the piece we cut out. I'm not going to worry about really doing any of the bottom. I am going to kind of go up along the sides and kind of blend in, and then we're just going to make sure the top has some nice color. So let's go ahead and start with the top. And if you wanted to do this before you cut it out, you absolutely could. You just cut it after. Okay, so I'm making sure that the top is nice and colored. Pulling in all of that excess ink on the side. And then we're just going to kind of go along the sides. And we're going to cover up the bottom. So I'm not even going to worry about doing the bottom. And the sides over here. And that, I think, is pretty good. Let me just do a little bit more on this side. So that is pretty good. That's our beautiful night sky and our little pull tab piece. So that's it for the ink blending. So let me grab my cleaning cloth again. We're just going to clean up all this ink. I think I got too much blueberry bushel, but that's okay. Perfect. Great. This cleans up so easily, and then this one, when we're done with the video, I'll just go wash out in the sink with some water. And you can even wash those in your washing machine. I like to throw my my chamois as well. I throw those in my washing machine when I do sheets and towels. You can put them in your washing machine. Don't put them in your dryer, but and give them a good rinse before you put them in your washing machine. But they work perfectly too, to kind of clean off all of those things. Just kind of freshen it up a little bit. Okay, just making sure my glass mat's dry. We're gonna do some stamping now. So in the Flying By stamp set, there's this little splatter of stars, and we're gonna stamp that both on the blue piece and on the yellow piece. So again, I'm gonna start with my Daffodil Delight. Let's pull that in. Whoa, drop the ink pad. All right, let's pull this in. Let's pull in our stars. And we're just gonna do a few of these little stars just stamped. And towards the top, you're not gonna be able to see them too much because it's gonna be a darker yellow up there. So you can kind of see them on the bottom. You can see them definitely better on the bottom than on the top. I'm gonna stamp a few up there anyway. Okay, so speaking of my chamois, I'm just gonna clean this off. So we're ready to put it in our blue, in our blueberry bushel. So that is it with our Daffodil Delight. We're ready to put that away. And bring in our blueberry bushel, and we're gonna do a few little stars on this. And this is just gonna go, oops, which way? I don't know that there's a right side up or an upside down, but the stars are just gonna kind of go around the edges here, a few here, kind of just wherever you want. I'm just putting little clusters just to make it give you that illusion like, oh yeah, this is nighttime. So just a few little clusters, nothing too big. All right, now as long as we have our blueberry bushel ink out, I just have a scrap piece of white, and we're gonna stamp our greeting. I'm so glad you exist. And I'm gonna just stamp this. I have ink all over my hands. I'm just gonna stamp this just along the bottom of this basic white piece of cardstock, and we're just gonna trim that out. So just like that. All right, that's it for our ink. Let's put that away before we make a complete disaster. All right, so we have all of our card pieces. Let's stamp our little alien guy. I have another piece, just a scrap of basic white, my Memento ink, and we are going to stamp our little alien friend here. Just right on that basic white. Close up our Memento. We're gonna do some quick coloring with our Stampin' Blends. So I have 3 sets. I have Lemon Lolly, Granny Apple Green, and Lemon Lime Twist. So I'm gonna start with my Lemon Lime Twist. I'm gonna start with my dark Lemon Lime Twist. Let's bring this in so we can kind of see what we're doing here. My dark Lemon Lime Twist, I'm going to do kind of this top rim and the bottom rim that and down here. I'm not going to do much blending kind of along these little rims. You can if you want, but it's a small area, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. All right, now I'm going to use my light lemon lime twist, and I'm going to give this whole thing, the middle section, a good wash of color with my light lemon lime twist. And I wanted there to be some deep contrast of the greens here. So I'm actually going to bring in my dark granny apple green, and I'm going to put some dark along the edges here. So I'm imagining this little flying saucer is a curved image, so the center section would be the lightest, and it would be a little bit darker as it curves around. So I'm just doing my dark granny apple green just along the edges there, and then I'll come back in with my lemon lime twist, and I'll just blend those out kind of into the middle. You can mix and match your Stampin' Blends. They don't always have to be the same. And that's what's so fun about Stampin' Blends, is you can really add color as you want. Now, one more time with my dark lemon lime twist just up here. All right, perfect. Now for the lemon lolly, I'm only going to use the light lemon lolly, and I'm just going to just kind of color just a little bit. We're not even going to color the whole thing. I'm just kind of going maybe about 3/4 of the way up in that little dome. All right, and that's it for the coloring. So let's fussy cut this out. There is no dies or punches for this stamp set, but this image is really easy to fussy cut. I'm moving the paper, not my scissors, and I'm keeping the paper in the center part of my scissors. I'm not cutting with the very tip. That's another good tip with fussy cutting. You want to cut with the center of your scissors and move your paper, not your scissors, and just go right along that outside edge. All right, and that's it. There's our little alien guy ready to go. All right, so we are ready to assemble this card. So we have our pieces. We have our alien guy, we have our little window, we have our pull tab, we have the yellow piece behind our window. I'm just going to cut this one out real quick, our greeting. So I'm going to cut the edge just a little bit. I'll cut this edge. I'm going to leave enough room to kind of flag it. And then I'm just going to trim it just to the height of those words. I'm just trying to eyeball straight. There we go. So there's our little greeting, ready to go. Move these pieces out of the way. And we'll just flag this end, just like this. All right, so this piece is ready to go. We're ready for that. And I just have a couple extra pieces of cardstock here, a piece of garden green. This is gonna be our ground piece. This is gonna go in here. This is 4 by about 1 1/4, 1 1/2. And I just die cut it with this cloud border. This is from the Bright Skies dies. Just either one of these borders will work. Just die cut that. And then our card base is Boho Blue as well. And that is just 8.5 by 5.5, or 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. All right, so let's get this thing put together. So let's start with our yellow piece. This is gonna go right in the middle of our card base. So I'm gonna use some strong adhesive. You can use just regular Stampin' Seal. This Stamp Seal Plus is just what I had handy to grab. Now, if you want to put this on just to kind of eyeball where it's going to go, you don't want to put this piece too high or too low because it's going to peek out the side. So I'm just going to kind of figure out where this is going to go, pull this out, and we'll just kind of lay this down. I'm not going to press down too hard. I want to make sure that when this goes over, that yellow piece will completely cover it, which it does. So I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll go ahead and give that a good press down. And this will go right on top. Really fun, right? Okay, we're getting there. I promise. Let's go ahead and assemble the front piece. So I'm going to put on my little grass piece. I'm going to use some dimensionals. I am only going to do dimensionals on the bottom though, and I'm actually just going to put them down here on my Boho Blue piece. Our little space guy is going to go up and behind it. So if you have too many dimensionals around it, it's going to just kind of get in the way. And you don't want that. So this should be the same length as our card cardstock here. So I'm just going to turn it over, make sure that we just line this up right along the bottom. Just like that. There we go. So we have our little ground, our little sky. We're ready to go. Let's put this on. I'm just going to glue this on. You can use dimensionals if you want on this as well. I'm just going to stick that down. Just like that. Oh, hello. Liquid glue. All right, perfect. So I'm so glad you exist. What a fun little greeting for this. Okay, now we are going to adhere this down. The key to adhering this one down, because we're going to have our little slider piece that goes in and out, we don't want this to wobble back and forth. So I'm actually going to use my dimensionals, and I'm going to use my edge pieces here. And I'm going to cut big, long edge pieces. And I'm going to put one right up against the side. And actually, I'm going to lay this down right in that little slot there, just so I know. You don't want it to touch you don't want it to adhere this piece down, but you want to make sure that it doesn't kind of wobble back and forth. And I'm going to cut this other long edge over here. Perfect. And we're going to do the same thing. And I'm putting the straight side, not kind of that side with the teeth. I'm putting the straight side down and just kind of right up against that edge, those edges. Can you see? All right, now just a few more dimensionals just to make sure everything stays nice and secure and those corners don't pop up. I'm just going to put one in each corner. Peel these off. Okay, and peel this off. Peel this one off. Okay, and we're going to stick this down. Now I know you're like, you didn't put it on, you didn't put the slider piece in. That's okay, we're going to do that in just a second. Just making sure we get a nice even border. Perfect. Now our slider piece, we're going to be able to slide right in just like this. And it's a little bit longer, which is what we want because we need it to poke out the top. So what I'm going to do before we go ahead and throw that in there, I'm just going to have a piece of this diagonal trim. This is our white one. We also have, it also comes in pretty, or not pretty in pink, petal pink. It comes in a 2-pack. And I'm just going to cut this in half. I'm just getting like little 1-inch strips here. There we go. A couple little 1-inch strips. And I have a stapler here. I'm just going to fold these in half, just kind of like that, just so they poke up at the top. And that'll indicate to your recipient that they need to pull this. And very carefully with your stapler, just give that a little staple. If you don't like the look of staples in your cards, you can just adhere that on with some glue dots if you want. We're going to stick this down just like this. Kind of have to get those little staples to go behind there. But stick that down just like that. Now once you have that down, we're going to add our little space guy. I'm going to use a couple dimensionals for this. I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to just put him right at the bottom of put those dimensionals right at the bottom of that pull tab. And then he will go on. Whoops, make sure we cover those dimensionals. Put them up a little too high. There we go. He will go on just like that. And so he'll kind of tuck in just like that. And I'll pull up just like that. And he's not going to go any farther because that's where the dimensionals stop. So you can see how fun that is. So fun. Whoops, he kind of went out there. There we go. So cute, right? So that's our little card. We're not done yet though. Let's add some embellishments. I'm going to add some, what are these? Ombre dots. I'm going to add just a few of these Night of Navy ones. Just along the sky up here. And just to add a little bit extra to my little alien guy, I'm going to pull him up and I'm going to use my fine tip glue and I'm going to make the glass of his spaceship, space flying saucer, whatever that is. I'm going to just add some of this over that, and when it dries, it'll give it a nice little glossy look. And I like to spill a little out onto a piece of scrap paper, or in that case, my dimensionals. Just in case there's any bubbles or little air bubbles or something, they all come out on there and not on your project. Now, you are going to have to give this some dry time, so don't touch it. Probably for, I would say, a good 30 minutes, maybe even longer, depending on how thick it is. And just don't touch it. Put it somewhere safe where it's not going to be disturbed, and we will check out our finished one over here for our little space guy. Isn't that adorable? So he's going to float up just like he's abducting something. Very cute. So this is a little bit more of an intricate card, but I think whoever you give this to will appreciate all that hard work that you put into it, and they will sure love this one. So I hope you guys give this a shot. You can take other images from that flying by stamp set. You can do the same thing with the little plane. Maybe just turn him sideways and have the plane go this way, and create a landscape card instead of a portrait card. But lots of different options here. So I hope you guys love this. I'll be back next week for another series of classes to go. We'll be featuring the Adventurous Sky bundle next week, and I can't wait to show you those cards. If you have any questions, please let me know. I do have a host code in the video description if you want to shop for any of these supplies in my online store. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. You'll never miss a video, and I really appreciate all your support. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye.